On today's podcast episode, we're going to wrestle through a question that actually I submitted. I don't normally tell people who submits these questions.
So are you gonna ask and answer your own question?
I'm going to ask and let you answer it, and then I might add to it.
You might correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I'm not correct me if I'm wrong. Here's the deal. I've been wrestling through something. I am 34, almost 35, Adam, and I've learned something about myself, especially having children and getting older. I don't like change as much as I used to. It's a harder thing, but I'm learning that change is a weird thing. I'm gonna put it that way, because I have friends in the church world and they go on both sides. They either are on the side of change is terrible, never change, the church should never change, let's just do things, we've done things the same for 2,000 years. And you have people on the opposite side who said, well, actually, God made us creative, and so we should be finding new ways to worship and to do things. And so, but they uber change everything. Everything's always changed. You can't find ground to stand on, because by the time you do, it changes, right? Is change good? I guess is the question I want to really ask. Is change good? And then what is appropriate for us as God's people, and especially in a church family? What does healthy change look like if it is good?
It's hard. It's hard, you know. I'm a little bit older than you are, and change is hard, you know. And everybody approaches it differently. Because one thing, first of all, let me back up a little bit. I got a little bit confused. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. It happens in your own family. My son is 20 years old. He's in college, a junior this year in college, and he's gone. My wife and I did foster care for a long time, and we don't anymore. And so we had for a decade and a half, 2 decades, however long, we had tons of kids in our house all the time, and we had a rhythm. And now our house is more empty and quieter a lot of the time, and we have college students that come in but go out, and they're in and out all the time. Now, change happens in our houses, in our homes. Your home, if you live there for any amount of time at all, it doesn't look the way it looks when you moved in. You've painted a wall, you've got a new couch, you changed candle out, your home changes. Everything changes. The problem with change happens when it's not your idea.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's really it. Because change is inevitable. It happens to all of us, right? It's always makes us nervous a little bit. I was told once that people, by and large, you, all of us, we don't really fear change. We fear loss. And anytime there's a change, there's going to be a loss also. And because you're going to lose something to gain something else, and you're hoping that the new thing is better. It's an upgrade. It's an increase or an addition that's good. But you don't know it always will be until you get into it. This is why when you go to paint a house, paint a room, you might get paint out. You might put some little colors on the wall like this to choose, because you actually don't know when a color moves from the card of this size to the whole wall, if you'll still like it the same, right?
That's true, because a lot of times you'll pin it up there, and I've been around people, my family included, where you don't even paint the whole wall. You just do one big swatch, because you still want to make sure, do I still like this when it dries?
That's right. And so we never know. Any change, there's going to be some kind of a loss, right? You sell a car to buy a new car. You think the new car is going to be great, but the old car was great for 10 years. Will this one be as good for 10 years, or is it going to break down in 2? You fear loss, right? The same's true in churches. In church, or in any kind of organization, but we are a church, so we're talking about. It's a little more difficult, because now it's not even just you and your immediate family. Now you're a part, I'm a part, we're a part of a family of 400 plus people, and everybody's going to shift from the same direction to the other direction, and everybody's got different opinions and different ideas. And if you get 40 people in a room, you're going to have 40 different ideas, and it gets really hard. I had I was in a group setting thing a while back, it's been a couple years ago, talking about a church, not ours, a different one that was going through some changes and things. And this guy said, you know, the hard fact of leading a church is that people will trust you to read the Bible, to tell what the Bible means, to help them take next steps according to what the Bible says. But then you say, we're going to change the carpet out, and all of a sudden you're wrong, and you can't possibly lead in that. And change is hard in a church, right? I was a part of a church once that had made a choice. They were going to change, again, not our church, different one, change a thing on their stage, on the platform in the worship room or the auditorium, sanctuary, whatever it's called there. And they were going to move something off there that had been there for a long time. And so they just started moving this big piece of furniture. They started moving it an inch, literally, a week. an inch a week. And so this thing was in the center here. A little while later, it was off center a little bit. A couple months later, it was over here just a little bit. And this moving of the thing happened for months and months and months and months went on until finally someone said, "Wait a minute, didn't that used to be over there?" And the answer was yes, but it happened really slowly, and people didn't notice it until it was a realization happened there. And change is just a hard thing. Here's what we need to remember, if I can say this. What you need to remember is that if there's a purpose, and there should always be a purpose to change. If there's a purpose, and that purpose is to lean into the mission God gave us and further the vision God has given His church and increase the ability to make disciples, then that change is worth risking. Right?
Yeah. So what I think I hear you saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that what you're saying is change is inevitable. So change is going to happen, which means that there is a healthy change out there, and we have to find it. Is it fair to say, though, because, and again, I lean this way, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Is it fair to say never changing is bad because we have to change things every once in a while?
Well, yeah, never changing would be bad. I mean, none of us have done that in our lives, because if you're watching this and you live here in America, in Midwest America, you have indoor plumbing. You changed along the way, or someone in your family changed along the way. We all do it, right? So not changing leads you to avoiding and throwing away the tools and resources that are given to you.
Now, the reverse is also true, though, is always changing and never having some kind of identity to who you are is also not good.
Absolutely. Because when you change all the time, too much, just on a whim, go willy-nilly with it and throw things around, when that happens, you lose your identity. Because we actually see, and I could tell you anecdotal stories of this. I believe I could find even definitive statistical proof too. People taking steps as disciples of Jesus, discipleship happens in predictable patterns and replicatable rhythms. And to do that, you can't just change every time all the things. You can't throw it away here and there, but methodical, planned out, prayed over, thought through, strategic change for the goodness of God's kingdom and the glory of God on the throne. That change is actually healthy and holy.
So I guess a follow-up question, just to kind of wrap up our time together, since that is holy and that's the kind of healthy change we're looking for those of us watching, like, if change is going to happen, what are healthy ways to handle change? So, like, if we have questions about change or things, like, how do we approach it so we're not, because the Bible is very clear about not being divisive. I think too often we jump to divisiveness because we're frustrated instead of talking like family and talking like adults and helping each other be on the same page. So what are healthy steps if something's changing and I don't know what to feel and don't know what to think about it? What's a healthy way for me to engage with the change?
Yeah, the difficulty in that is to emotionally build some separation, right? Because when you're emotionally attached to anything at all, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the music that changed 25 years ago. If you're emotionally attached to it, it's hard to see the benefit. It's hard to see what's going to go on, right?
Yeah.
I recently was talking to our student minister here at church about one of the ways that they engage students in worship and in teaching and things, and because I am well past my teenage years and I'm well past my youth minister days as well, they're doing things different than what I did or preferred, understood, right? And so I asked him, I said, why are you doing this? Why are you like that? And he explained it in a way that told me that he thought it through, prayed over it, and this made sense. And when I asked a question, not angrily, but just saying, explain it to me, and he explained it from this is a kingdom process standpoint, I was able to say that I'm behind you, right? So if there's a change, any change at all, doesn't matter where it is, at your home, your workplace, school, the church, anywhere at all, you're going through a change, and your first reaction is almost always going to be emotional. And so I encourage you to feel the weight of that, but then to take that and set that aside and say, I want to understand the nuts and bolts of what's going on here, so I can be invested in the kingdom and I can be a part of this as well. And then go to a leader of the place, the home, the workplace, the school, the church, the marketplace, whatever it is, and go there and say, explain to me why, because I just don't see it and I want to. And when you ask those kind of questions, healthy leaders are going to give you good answers. And maybe you see something they didn't see. So let your voice be heard, but then walk along with it, knowing that it's really part of John the Baptist saying that to Jesus, he must become greater, I must become less. This is part of that, right? Allowing Jesus to become greater in our lives.
Yeah, I think one more thing you can do. It's something that my wife encourages me in a lot of times because I can get emotional about change and doing things. Sometimes when I respond that way, I forget, because all these things you're talking about, work, you're talking about church, family stuff, the people we're surrounded ourselves with, we're still there because we like the people, right? We trust the people for the most part about things. But when we're hit with that emotional thing, sometimes we all of a sudden go to a place of distrust. And my wife always reminds me that, don't you trust them? Yeah. So instead of being angry, why don't you go talk to them about maybe they have good reasons behind it instead of jumping to a place.
Yeah. When you love someone, we should begin from a place of they have my best interest in mind. Yeah.
So well, I hope that helps you wrestle through things. It helps me wrestle through things because I'm not perfect at this. But I also want to be someone who is allowing God to change my life so we can continue to not only see impacts in our families, in our communities, but in the world as we continue to follow Jesus together. Church, until we see each other again, you are sent. Have a great day.